history, your ability, your political acumen. Nicole Wallace, my good sister, tell me what you, your brilliant self, believe people can do.
Well, I'm going to break the rules the way Rachel broke the rules and tell you that I love you, that the happiest times I've had, not just at MSNBC, but ever being on television, have been sitting next to the two of you. No offense, Lawrence. We love having you there, too.
We love Lawrence.
And that I think that I thought that things like that on TV couldn't be real, but that the friendships that have sustained me have been with both of you. And I am, it's like losing a limb, the thought of doing those nights without you. Your strength and your fearlessness is the answer to the question I think you're getting at with both of us. And I think that my reaction to the end of the ReidOut and your departure is despair. And the only thing that chips away at that for me is that despair is the autocrat's tool. It's their most effective weapon. It costs nothing. It's easy to deploy. It's contagious. And then it puts in motion all the actions they want: hopelessness, isolation, exasperation, giving up. Yeah. And so the only reason I will not wallow in what I feel about you leaving is because I think that's what they want. And so,
boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you guys, MSNBC firing Joy Reid is the gift that keeps on giving. Okay, it was already hilarious that they fired Joy Reid, right? Which, I mean, I think was long overdue. I have been predicting this for a while now, okay, since the election, that Joy Reid wouldn't make it another year at MSNBC. There was absolutely no way, okay, considering her language, the type of racist, hateful rhetoric that she spewed on her show on a nightly basis. Yeah, this is part of the reason why Democrats lost, right? Like, there's nothing mass marketable about anti-white racism, right? There's nothing marketable about that at all, okay? So yeah, MSNBC decided to get rid of her, and there's been nothing but boohoo, whining, and crying since then, okay? Yesterday we talked about Joy Reid breaking down in tears, okay? And then we have more tears because you also have propagandists like Don Lemon, who also was fired for having very low ratings, right? He's also an open racist as well, too, even though he loves white men, okay? He loves the great white pipe, right? But according to him, white supremacy is such a big threat. I don't really understand, okay, how that works, but regardless, Don Lemon is upset at Megyn Kelly, who was celebrating Joy Reid being fired, and Don Lemon decided to show his ass, so to speak, on Megyn Kelly because of her roasting Joy Reid. Take a look.
The big news tonight will be Joy Reid's final show on MSNBC. Single tear, white woman tears happening right here, Joy. She was officially fired over the weekend because she's a racist, horrible news anchor with no ratings. And that's really been the truth for a long time. MSNBC's under new management, and I guess they decided to come to grips with reality. The truth is, this is very sad news for us, as she's provided so much material over the years. I feel the way I felt when Brian Stelter got fired, but he came back, and you never know. I'm sure Joy Reid will wind up doing something where we will continue to get to respond to her absolutely insane POV.
So let me just say to Megyn Kelly, in my 30-some years as a journalist and my 50-some years as a person of color, go fuck yourself. Okay? I usually don't like to talk about her because she's one of those people, she thrives on it. She has built the second part of whatever of her career on being a troll. So this is what Megyn Kelly said about Joy Reid, right? And remember, Joy Reid is a woman, Megyn Kelly's a woman. She's supposed to be all about women and, supports women. Okay, so this is what she said. Remember when Joy Reid laughingly mocked white women tears as pathetic and offensive to her? Who's crying now, Joy? Good riddance to the absolute worst person on television, and shame on NBC for letting it go on this long. And she has she is an axe to grind when it comes to MSNBC. And also, this whole, she's racist, right? It's just, I'm going to give you the evidence. Supposedly learned from it and then spent every day after apologizing for it and being fired for it, then spent every day proving the point that she is a racist. and not very supportive of women. If you look, all you have to do, the evidence is in her Google search and what she says about women, and how she calls them out all the time. The worst person. No, Megyn Kelly. The worst person on television was fired from NBC in the Today Show a few years ago, and that's Megyn Kelly. That's the worst person who's not on television anymore, is you. That's the worst person who's not on television. So hurrah for that. NBC did something good with that. You know why? I like to give proof of things, evidence. Like when I said Donald Trump, the president of the United States, was racist, it wasn't my opinion. This isn't my opinion about Megyn Kelly. The evidence is there. I'm going to show you the evidence of Megyn Kelly, and that's just as I showed you the evidence of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I personally haven't seen any evidence of President Trump or Megyn Kelly being racist, but, you know, hey, if these people, if their feelings are hurt, then it must be racism, right? That's exactly kind of how this goes, right? Because apparently Rachel Maddow is boohoo-whining, crying racism as well, too, right? She is basically accusing her network, MSNBC, of being racist for firing Joy Reid, right? This is what's happening. The anchors are openly revolting against MSNBC for firing Joy Reid. This is what happened. And again, Joy Reid had low ratings. Nobody was watching her show. I'm not entirely sure what world these people think we're supposed to live in, where we're supposed to give handouts to black folks, right? Because that's essentially what this is about, right? This is about the fact that Joy Reid is DEI, right? She does not have the talent, okay? She did not have the audience that was required in order to justify keeping her show. And because she's now being fired, oh, no, she can't be fired based off merit. No, it has to be because of racism, right? It has to be some form of bigotry. Fascinating stuff. I love when they eat themselves. And this is exactly what's happening with this meltdown right here from Rachel Maddow. So without further ado, let's get into it.
PM hour, all the other nights except for Mondays. So that's a big change. An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The ReidOut, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door. It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend.
Yeah, because they suck. I mean, that's just what it is. Nobody watches them. I mean, I don't understand why is it such a complicated concept. But again, as I told you guys, this is kind of how these people think, right? They really think that a black person should not be able to be fired, right, at all, okay? That you can't hold black people accountable. You can't do that. Even if your show sucks, no, you must have the show, right? You must take a loss, right? Because, I mean, ultimately, in the day, this is about making money, right? So you have to take a loss so that a black person can have a show, right? This is what they believe. Okay? You know, this type of ideology is what is destroying this country, really.
And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it. But there's just one other piece of it that you should know. From your side of the TV screen, you will mostly see changes in terms of who's in the anchor chair. And actually, everybody who's going to be in anchor chairs from here on out are great colleagues and great at what they do, and you are not going to be disappointed in who's on our air and what you're going to be seeing. But one thing you cannot necessarily see is that the people who get our shows on the air, they're really being put through the ringer. Dozens of producers and staffers, including some who are among the most experienced and most talented and most specialist producers in the building, are facing being laid off. They're being invited to reapply for new jobs. That has never happened at this scale in this way before when it comes to programming changes.
Well, yeah, because, again, your network sucks, right? Because nobody's watching your network. So when nobody's watching your network, you have to change. You have to fire people. Again, I don't understand what is so, like, what's so hard about this? What is so difficult to understand here, right? Rachel Maddow is acting like this is some big conspiracy theory. It's not. Your network is losing viewers, so they have to change things. You're lucky that your ass is still employed, right? In fact, I mean, I guess she got FU money because she's basically criticizing her own network for making decisions to try to gain back viewers, right? It's fascinating stuff.
Because it's not the right way to treat people, and it's inefficient, and it's unnecessary, and it kind of drops the bottom out of whether or not people feel like this is a good place to work, and so we don't generally do things that way. Maybe all of our folks, including most of the people who are getting this very show on the air right now, maybe they will all get new jobs here, and I hope they do, but in the meantime, being put in this kind of limbo, the anxiety and the discombobulation is off the charts at a time when this job already is extra stressful and difficult. It is not news for me to tell you that the press and freedom of the press are under attack in a way that is really, it's a big deal for our country. It's very visceral for us here. I know that the business of the press is not an easy thing, and I know that no job is forever. But I think I'm safe in saying for all of us anchors who you know through the TV, please know that what pains us the most is not what happens to us. It is what happens to our coworkers on whom we depend and who you don't necessarily know, but we respect and love them and depend on them. And did I mention we respect them? This is a difficult time in the news business, but it does not need to be this difficult. We welcome new voices to this place and some familiar voices to new hours. It's going to be great, honestly, and we want to grow and succeed and reach more people than ever and be resilient and stay here forever. I also believe, and I bet you believe, that the way to get there is by treating people well. Finding good people, good colleagues, doing good work with them, and then having their back. That we could do a lot better on. A lot better. I'll be right back.
Oh man, at this point I feel like a supervillain. I feel like a super villain. Okay, that's how I feel right now. These people, they're ridiculous, man. They're so full of themselves. Like, imagine going on national television and calling out your own employer for firing people who are not performing well, right? I mean, you know, in a normal world, right, there used to be a fireable offense, right? Rachel Maddow would not be on television after that, right? I mean, you would think that the producers, the bosses at MSNBC, would have enough self-respect to say, no, we're not going to play that game. You're not going to come on national television and criticize us for holding our colleagues accountable, right? Because that's what it's about, right? It's about the fact, okay, you're not getting views anymore. Hey, you're not bringing in money, right? And if you don't bring in money, we can't survive. So ultimately, you got to go, right? It's really that simple. It's a business decision. It's not personal. It's a business decision. And for whatever reason, Rachel Maddow thinks that it's appropriate to comment on the hiring and firing decisions of the company openly, publicly, right? And they've done this before with the whole Ronald McDaniel thing. Okay, they were boohoo-whining, crying behind the scenes and on air about NBC hiring Ronald McDaniels, the former RNC chair. Now, eventually they got their way, but again, this happens so much, right? And it just shows you how these journalists really do believe that they are running stuff, and they're not running anything at all. You're not running anything, okay? You are an on-air talent. You need to stick to that. Stick to your job. Okay? The hiring and firing, you shouldn't have any input on that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, because again, that's not your job. That's not what you were hired for. Okay? You're not the CEO. But hey, these journalists aren't really journalists. They are activists, right? And this is what you call activism, right? This is on-air activism on behalf of Joy Reid, okay? Trying to make people pity her for being fired, but nobody really is pitying her because ultimately she deserved it. Her show wasn't getting views, and if she really has the juice like that, then she can start another show on another platform and be just as successful. However she can, right? We all know she doesn't have the juice like that. Just like Don Lemon doesn't have the juice like that. That's why Don Lemon hates Megyn Kelly so much, because Megyn Kelly didn't need NBC because she has the talent to do it on her own. She doesn't need a multi-billion-dollar media conglomerate and brand behind them in order to get views, okay? But that's not something that Don Lemon or Joy Reid have the ability to do, okay? They don't, and this is why they're boohoo, whining, and crying. This is why they're so butthurt about being fired from their networks, because they know that without their networks, they're nobodies, right? They're nobodies, okay? Now, again, we'll see what happens with Joy Reid. I'm going to be extremely fascinated to see how many people actually really follow Joy Reid after this, right? How much viewership does she get? Because I personally don't think that she's going to get too many viewers, right? I think that she's going to be probably as irrelevant as Don Lemon, okay? She'll have a few lunatics that tune in to whatever she's talking about. But I mean, a vast majority of these individuals, like, for example, again, Tiffany Cross, Don Lemon, Jim Acosta, et cetera, after they leave their, mainstream liberal media conglomerates, their careers are over, right? Nobody gives a damn about what they have to say. And I think that is the fate of Joy Reid. I think that's exactly what's about to happen to her. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.